We all know Putin is pulling out all the stops to keep his war machine fueled with human lives. But is Russia really sending soldiers with crutches and canes to the front line? It seems like leaked video says maybe. We're going to be breaking it all down and just why Russia wants to do this. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is a video that's gone viral over the last couple of days. And it is a Russian unit. This is a still from it. The whole video is in Russian, so showing it won't really help because it's literally just this guy talking at the camera. But the original text says that about 50 military personnel, they named the Unit 52562 from the 47th Tank Division, are being sent to the front line. These soldiers reporting saying, as you can see, they've all been pretty seriously wounded, including a large number of leg wounds. A number of these guys appear to be only able to get around using crutches, and yet they're reporting that they are being deemed fit for duty and sent to the front line, right? They say that many of these personnel are awaiting surgery or have a military-related medical condition, like a combat wound. Some military personnel even are categorized as what is a Russian category G, right, which means they need a 45-day leave for recuperation, right? But they've been told instead, you're going assaulting. And this is supposedly near Volchansk, where this kind of behavior is needed, right? Where Russian units purportedly have suffered tremendous casualties, right? Here's, you can see the video here. Again, all in Russian, not really all that helpful. And it's Twitter, which is the world's worst service, so it's not even loading. But that's cool. But the interesting part is additional complaints. In addition to the fact that they're fighting despite serious injuries, they're saying they're not receiving any combat pay and due combat benefits. Now, if you're interested in seeing some of the footage here, and frankly, I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure YouTube's going to demonetize this because it is reporting a true fact about the war in Ukraine and Russia's war machine. And for some reason, the uncomfortable truths are not really all that welcome on YouTube. But if you want to support me, support what I do, and support independent creators like me, you can go to Combat Vet News and become a member. This is where I do a twice weekly analysis of the viral combat footage coming at us from the front line. The one that just dropped today actually looked at Ukrainian forces using increasing thermal vision, thermal scopes, in order to hit the Russians at night. So if you want to, go to combatvetnews.com, become a member. We've also rolled out a new Q&A video that's going to drop every single week, but only for lieutenant and colonel tiers. If you want those higher tiers, you also get the shout outs at the end of videos, the recognition, because again, you guys are the ones enabling me to do this every day. So I appreciate you so much. And if you want to get the crazy footage here, you're going to want to check it out. Okay, so here's the interesting part, right, is that there's been reports at least as far back as December 2023 that Russia was redesignating many of its injured troops as fit for duty and sending them to the front line, right? Right, he reportedly received a shrapnel wound in a leg, but was assigned briefly to a convalescence unit, received inadequate care, and then signed off by another doctor to fight again. This soldier's wife said he walks with a cane, but is in a unit of other disabled and injured soldiers that will be used as an assault battalion. This is from December of 2023, but it seemed like that was limited in its use, but now it seems much more common. Here's a report from 18 hours ago where a Ukrainian captain from the 110th describes it as a conveyor belt, bringing Russians to be killed off. And while it enables them to push forward gradually, it's not uncommon for Ukrainian soldiers to stand and fight for over 4 or 5 waves of Russian soldiers coming at them. Right? Russia losing around 1,200 soldiers a day, killed or wounded, over May and June, which is actually the limit of Russia's ability to mobilize troops. Again, it's bringing in about 25,000 a month. But there have been complaints from the Russian side about what Russians call, quote, crippled regiments, in which wounded soldiers are forced back into fighting. And they talk about this video we just looked at with dozens of men, some on crutches, appealing to their commanders because they say they are wounded and require hospitalization and instead are being sent back into combat. Right? And of course, Ukraine could never actually match these tactics. They say partly due to Ukraine's numbers, but in part due to a different attitude towards casualties. This is the thing. You can do this kind of stuff when you're not a democracy, right? When you don't have a free press. But when you have to actually be accountable to the citizens of your country, you cannot treat them like this. And you may think, this could just be a meme. It could be Ukrainian propaganda. But here, I'm going to show you guys. And don't worry, YouTube. There is no violence. It is not. There is no violence that takes place here. And in fact, it doesn't even depict armed soldiers. You see this individual here? You notice he's walking with a cane. And he has the designation, the tape that designates him as a Russian combatant. But he's missing a weapon. These individuals don't have weapons. And according to that interview with that Ukrainian commander, he says that the Russians are using these troops as a recon by fire, essentially, right? You can see them here, two guys trying to navigate this area. And what they're doing is intentionally drawing Ukrainian fire. They're under observation by drones. And when the Ukrainians fire on these Russians, it allows Russian artillery crews to pinpoint Ukrainian positions. That's it. But there's more to Putin's benefit than just finding out where the Ukrainian bunkers are, right? Because as those soldiers themselves point out, they're not receiving combat pay. Right now, Russia's spending about 1/3 of its entire governmental budget on this war. So it needs to cut costs everywhere it can. And a big cost sink, as the U.S. military will tell you, is those pesky veterans. They serve their country and then they think they're entitled to things like medical care for their injuries, right? And the thing is, it's expensive. It's very expensive. Again, it's a lifetime of medical care in a lot of cases. And so, as a result, you end up with a incentive for the government to find ways to reduce those long-term benefits payments. And one way to do that, particularly in the case of Russia, is to make sure you have very few wounded troops. And maybe that means you have more killed in action. And so that's what they're doing here. They're saying, listen, we don't want you to be severely wounded. That means the Russian government has to pay you for the rest of your life. They have to treat you in military hospitals. It's cheaper for us to just kill you off. And then you do a one-time burial payment. And that's that. Problem solved. So for Russia, it's really just economics. And that's why they put an economist in charge of their war. Because they have to win by treating people as commodities. That's it. That's the strategy. If you turn people into commodities, all you're doing is trading lives for land. You're playing the world's most grisly Settlers of Catan. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. A huge thank you to the Colonel tier members of CombatVetNews.com. We're doing the Q&A here coming up, especially in particular Derek C., James Farnham, Aaron Zanovsky, Tad Rockwell, and Mike Romanage. And, of course, the Lieutenant tier folks. You guys really are the ones carrying this channel, enabling me to continue to do this independently. Thanks so much. See you in the next one. Cheers.